effortless. It's funny. It's like, you know, it's disappointing because I want to hang out with everybody and like I want to be on the show and it's fun. But then there's also this part of me that's like, it created this great thing of like I was gone for. It's such a part of like the story now that he was gone for so long that like I don't regret that there's this big gap because it's funny to me. And I always said like before I came back. At conventions, I would pitch, like, we had this long-running thing years ago, like, how I could come back. And one of, like, it started out being like, you know, the episode could be like, the return. You're like, oh, Adam's coming back, yes, right? And you build it up, and you keep talking about it, and then there's a commercial break. Right? And then we're in, like, the second act, you're talking about it, you're like, yeah, he's gonna come back any moment. And then a commercial break. And then you're like, okay, credits are about to roll, and then it's like, boom. Ass butts! Right? And then, a bus runs me over and fucking kills me. Instantly. And that's it. And I really liked that idea for a long time. What they came up with was good too. But a part of me wanted to lean in and have that be the button. So yeah, it's fun. It's a part of Adam's story now. I think that's great. Thank you.
Hi. I was just wondering how you felt about Adam being left behind in Lucifer's cage, especially with how often Dean and Sam are trying to save each other and they kind of just rushed right past.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty. It's a pretty shitty thing to do. Forget about your brother. However, I think the time spent between Adam and Michael was not wasted. And I think, I honestly think, like, I think the relationship, I joke about wanting to be run over, but it was really fun to explore that close relationship that they had. And I think that's like, it was really a unique thing to explore, this bond that was created. The fact that they probably both went insane together and then like was each other's therapist, like got a grip on reality again. But yeah, pretty messed up. Appreciate it. Thank you. I did like the episode where they're doing the school play, and who's that? It's a brother.
Jake.
Hi.
I was actually just gonna ask, in real life, not in, and like before you came back, before you knew you were gonna come back, were you actually a little bit bitter because they forgot about you?
No. I kind of found out, I actually found out not that long ago, Cliff, I think everyone knows Cliff, the boys' security guard. He had told me like a few years ago, we were kind of talking about it. I was like, yeah, it's weird that they never did bring me back because I think there's a good storyline there. And the long and short of it was one of my agents at the time years ago, apparently they were like, hey, we want to bring Jake back. And they were like, all right, give us all the money in the world. And they were like, we don't have that. And they were like, well, too bad, you don't get them. And they never told me. Like, I never had the option to be like, oh, wait a minute, here's a coupon. That option was not given to me. Which is messed up because then there's all these years where they're like, all right, well, like, there's your 15-year gap. And I had no idea. No idea. And Cliff assumed he was just like thought I knew. And I was like, I had no idea. So I'm no longer with whoever did that, luckily. Yeah, screw them. And then I called my reps and just kind of let them know. I was like, hey, this apparently had happened years ago. And then lo and behold, Jake comes back to Supernatural. When we're like not being insane and being like, you know. So I'm really glad that I found out when I did. I'm glad that they were able to bring it back in because I think it was a great ending for them. So, bullet dodged. Thank you.
Hello. So my question is, if you had the choice, what hair color would Michael and Adam like dye their hair?
I've never been asked that one either. What color would they dye their hair? I don't know. I think Adam would have a pink mohawk. and Michael would probably just dye his hair darker. Like the deepest black that's not available to humans. That's what it would be. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So I watched your independent film that you did during COVID and loved it.
Jake in Quarantine?
Yes.
Thank you.
So are you planning on doing more like writing, producing kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's the end game. That's the end game for me. Turns out, like, you know, writing's hard and making anything good is hard. But I've been writing for years. You know, I've written 10 screenplays and every one is practice for the next. But yeah, that's what I would like to be doing. Making my own stuff, optioning stuff. That's kind of what I've always been working towards. I'll always be an actor and I'll be in those things. But yeah, I've always had a love for the entirety of filmmaking. And you know, like on set, I end up like we have dollies, you know, with the cameras on. Like I've been known to like set up a shot, like move the dolly around, and like play with all this. It's like, you know, there's all this amazing, expensive equipment that you can just play with if you're nice. You know, like there's these big cranes. When I was doing Percy, the DP was having me work. It's really hard. There's two knobs, one that goes this way, one that goes this way. And you can control the camera, and to practice you do figure eights. And it's incredibly difficult. It's like doing an Etch-a-Sketch, but like a giant crane. So, long story boring, yeah. I would love to make a horror film too. After that, I've been working on one. I want to do a practical effect horror film, which means like all the scares, just like in Jake in Quarantine, everything was done in camera. There's no CGI, right? Like the old school, like being really clever about how making things move and things like that. I think that would be really fun to make. So yeah, thank you. Thank you all for coming up and asking questions, by the way. You have no idea how much this helps.
Hi, I was wondering what album or artist do you think Adam would love, like his favorite would be?
What would his favorite album be? This is good, because well, whatever I say here, we can add them to my music festival. I think, I don't know. It's so hard. What would you say? What do you think?
Well, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, so I feel like he's a sucker for Red.
You know, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think he is a sucker for Red. He thought he liked 17, but then Red came out. Is 17 an album? Is that one of our albums? Thought I was great. 1989. I knew there was numbers.
Radio company.
So let's see. I think it would be one of those Now That's What I Call Music compilation albums. And let's make it the 1998 Now That's What I Call Music. I want someone to figure out what's on that album and bring it to me later. I want to know what the lineup is in the 1998 Now That's What I Call Music compilation. That's your task. Thank you. Hi.
So I know you partnered with Stan's for the hot sauce,
Yes.
and one of their ads was more heat than a room full of omegas. So I wanted to know if there were alpha and omega flavors of hot sauce, which you think Adam and Michael would be.
Here's the thing. I hadn't a clue what that meant when Michelle sent that to me.
Do you know what it means now?
Yeah. Yeah, I Googled it. I took that bite from the apple of knowledge. And now I cannot get the taste out of my mouth. So, yeah, so she sent it to me for approval. She's like, hey, what do you think? And I was like, let me look this up, and then I did, and I was like, fucking go for it. Okay, so who would be the alpha and who would be the, I think we all know Michael would be the alpha. There's just, do we not agree? We think Adam's the alpha? Y'all changing my mind. Oh, he's like, yeah, okay.
He's like the silent daddy downside.
Oh my God. I did. The silent, what did you say? The silent daddy, what? Tom, the silent daddy Tom. Oh, turning up the heat. You've changed my mind. You changed my mind. You taught me something about my own characters. That Adam is the alpha and Michael is the omega. There we go, it's settled. That's canon, thank you. I've also never been asked that question. You guys are crushing it today.
Hi, Jake. You mentioned the school musical episode, which was the beginning of season 10, and you mentioned while I was online, the idea that they were going to bring you back earlier. I'm curious, since that episode you were brought up, and also Chuck showed up, if you know it was about them, or do you know when it was?
You know, I don't know. It could have been. It could have matched up with that timeline. Even like earlier than that, I met this director, and he was like, "Hey, I pitched an episode for you. I wanted to do a Natural Born Killers episode. Like him and his wife wrote it, and it was like gonna be a Natural Born Killers episode with me and Michael, like on the road." And I was like, "That sounds amazing." He's like, "Yeah, no, it was. They didn't go for it." But like, oh, the things that could have been, but it could very well have been around that time. Everything's also so blurry a few days ago, let alone a few years ago. But the fact, I think, like I never thought of that the fact that Chuck came back, that might have been around the time. What's that?
Glad you got a new agent.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Thank you. She said, I'm glad I got a new agent. I said, yeah, me too.
In the episode Switching Channels, Gabriel said, what happens on heaven happens on earth. 4 vessels, 4 true vessels for 4 archangels. Dean is Michael, Sam is Lucifer. You probably would have been Raphael because you were pre-med.
Ooh.
And so theoretically, there could be a younger brother out there.
Man, you guys are still finding theories. It's incredible. Another younger brother?
Yes, Adam should have a younger brother.
No, he shouldn't. There can be only one alpha. Thank you, I never thought of that before. That's a really interesting fact. Has anyone else thought about that? No, you're the only one. Good job. But yeah, it could be a younger brother. We could put him in the sitcom. In fact, he's like the catalyst. We're kind of living together, and it's like you get the knock on the door, and it's like, hi, I'm your little brother. And that's the show. Guys, it's this easy. You just get together, it's this easy. Thank you. I might actually just write that as not a supernatural thing. Not a bad idea. Calm down. You did say fan fiction and not
So,
flesh.
I'm wondering, this is kind of going back to Percy Jackson a little bit, but who is your